Hello everybody, I am Crazed.
And I am Witchery.
And this is episode 2 of the Grumble Gamers Podcast. And we have a special guest today. His name is Jay.
Hello there, how's everyone doing?
We're great, how are you, Jay?
I'm doing alright, to be fair. How's you doing?
We are great.
We're doing okay over here.
Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
So for not a lot of people know who Jay is, obviously, but we'll give you some insight. He's one of our viewers, our fans, if you will, one of our fans. So I thought it'd be nice to chime him in on our first special guest podcast.
He's our first guest ever.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourself, Jay.
Well, there's not really much to say. It's Jay, as you've said. I'm from Birmingham in the UK. Yeah, I know. I know a lot of your subscribers probably from your ends over that way. But I'm going to try and bring some of the UK fans to your channel.
Perfect.
Thank you, Jay.
We actually do have a lot of people there from the UK that chime in. And you're one of them. How did you stumble upon our channel, out of curiosity?
Well, do you know, the maddest thing with finding your channel was, do you know when you was playing Metal Gear Solid, was it the Phantom Pain?
Yeah, we were playing a little bit of the Phantom Pain, yeah.
Do you know, I was actually looking at reinvesting in that game, and I looked at people who was playing it live, and I found your channel.
Oh, so it was just a lucky chance.
Lucky chance, okay.
I know, and then I seen a pug, and I stuck.
That's what drove you in. It was a pug. It all started with a pug.
There's a pug in the gameplay and the banter, and now literally I'll stick here around and just watch you play games.
Well, you were actually kind of the inspiration to do this podcast idea, and it kind of grew into more. So I have to give you most of the credit for us even doing this or attempting this because of you.
Well, the podcast thing now is because I've listened to podcasts for years. I mean, I struggle with issues with sleeping, so podcasts for me is somewhere to go to sleep with. And there's that many YouTubers now who do these podcasts. There's a few. I don't know whether we can name the ones I listen to.
You can if you want.
But it's basically a lot of the UK ones. It's for a start the True Geordie, and then you've got the Ricky Gervais one, which is a start one, and then there's football-based ones. So there's a few that I listen to, plus many more, and then a lot of them are sport-based and taking the mick out of things.
I see.
Which is what I've got started.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you already had some kind of inspiration for. I wouldn't say inspiration, but like some knowledge in podcast already. So I'm kind of glad you're here, and it's thanks to you that we're able to be doing this. So I just want to say thank you.
But it's no bother. It's no bother at all.
Sorry if you hear the dogs. They're just kind of flapping and growling and whatnot. So that'll always happen on our podcast where you'll hear snoring and barking and stuff. So just
hopefully that's not too bad of a distraction.
Well, we got the I'm sorry.
If your dog's going to be making noise, I can apologise for if I've got a bit of a chesty cough.
Oh yeah, no worries about that.
Well, we got to introduce yourself. You got to talk about a little bit about yourself and how you found us, which I think is great. And I think the topic of today that we're talking about is Resident Evil and the series in general. And we are slowly getting ready for Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil Village, or Village Resident Evil, or whatever you want to call it at this point, because their titling is a little weird. But yeah, we were thinking about talking about the Resident Evil franchise this episode, and talk about Resident Evil 7 as a recap, and then what we can expect from our RE8, or at least what we've played and seen on trailers and stuff. So it's glad to be you're here. You love Resident Evil. At least that's what I'm being told through the grapevine.
I love the Resident Evil games. I mean, I've played Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, the original ones, I think Resident Evil 1 was it PS1? Resident Evil 2 was PS1. I'm trying to think, was Resident Evil 3 on the PS1? Or did that go on to PS4?
RE1, RE2, RE3, they're all on PS1, and then GameCube kind of pushed them to RE4 at some point, but obviously there's been spin-offs. You got Code Veronica, and other things that they've done in between to kind of fill in gaps between those series, and then they did 5, 6, 7, Revelations 2. I'm sure there's more I'm missing, but there's quite a bit of games and TV shows and movies, a lot of movies that cover the Resident Evil franchise.
I've never seen one of the movies.
How have you not seen one of the movies? The movies are brilliant.
Oh, I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, there's like 7 now? 7 or 8?
The first movie is incredible.
So, yeah, it's like in the early 2000s, yeah.
No, I've never
We'll have to watch them. So because we can't speak about them on here, but we're going to be talking about Resident Evil 7 and RE8. But
first, I would like to ask you both, what is your favorite Resident Evil game?
Let's go with Jay.
No, it's a close one for me because I did love Resident Evil 1. Yeah. And then that's probably sort of my out and out favourite, but then I think Resident Evil 3 is not the remake, the original.
Yeah.
Is one of the best games I've ever played.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
I love that game.
Yeah, Resident Evil kind of was never on my radar until GameCube when Resident Evil 4 came out, and that's kind of what did it for me was Resident Evil 4 and playing that game, and that was such an interesting experience with, going through the village and stuff at the very beginning there, which is what, Resident Evil 8's kind of like having some of those like correlations between 4 and 8, like a lot of similarities where you're in this village and then, a lot of shit's going down.
I have seen because for people who are listening, I'm one of them who, when you play Resident Evil, I've seen the trailer, but I won't watch people playing the demos that are all out now. I won't watch them because I want to be playing it for myself and know what's going on in the gameplay.
I totally get
but
that.
I'm trying to get as much information about the game as I can, but not any spoilers.
Well, we'll do our best because we have played two of the demos so far. As of the time of this recording, we'll be playing a third one as later tonight, actually, which takes place in a castle. And the first 2 demos we've already played, so we can probably speak a little bit without, kind of spoiling things, so you can still at least be prepared, or at least surprised, for some of the moments in there. And I don't know I know the first demo that we played had nothing to do with the game. It's kind of like a little snippet of like,
oh, really?
Yeah, it was called the Maiden demo, and the Maiden demo kind of covered it was more of like a visual showcase, like you're playing as this random person and you're in the cellars in this castle, and that's it. They basically don't really, it's not even canon, it's not even part of the game. So I think that was kind of cool where you could kind of dip your toe a little bit without getting spoiled on anything major. So I think that was kind of cool, but obviously the second demo we played does go over gameplay. It does go over story details a little bit on what's going on. So it's kind of nice playing those. So we have a little bit of knowledge on what the game's going to be and feel and look. So we'll do our best not to spoil anything for you, though, Jay.
To be fair, you've sold me on Castle, because when we know things with Resident Evil, if you go in a basement or in Resident Evil 2 and 3, when you go into the sewers, some mad shit is about to go down.
Yeah, and there's always a lab. There's always a lab. That's what I always find funny. There's always a lab underneath something. So.
Well, see, we're mentioning labs when we've been on about Resident Evils. The first one, sorry to go back to that one, always sort of done my head in. Do you know, the first Resident Evil game was so much enjoyable, and then you get to the end to face a tyrant.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the easiest boss ever.
Really?
it sort of ruined the end of the game for me.
Oh, dear.
At least that's what I've noticed, where like a lot of Resident Evil games, at least the last third of the game, or at least the last section of the game, is what kind of like just loses interest. Like, and we're going to be getting to Resident Evil 7 soon, but like I think before you even get on the boat, at the very end of Resident Evil 7, is when it kind of loses my interest a bit. But I really liked up until that point, being in the baker's house and being in the swamps and stuff. But like when you get to the boat, it kind of changes a bit, and it feels a lot different. It just feels like a turn, a 180, if you will.
Do you know, I actually wrote down with notes preparation for this podcast about Resident Evil 7.
Perfect.
Why the fuck is the boat there?
Well, I think it doesn't crash.
What did the boat do?
Didn't the boat crash in the swamps because of a huge storm that happened like years ago? Is that what they said?
They said along them lines, but I don't understand. Like you said, why they couldn't just keep it in the Baker house?
Yeah, I thought that would have been great, and I love all those moments. And I guess we're now transitioning into Resident Evil 7 and what we think about Resident Evil 7. And I was talking about Resident Evil 7, but I really liked that game because it kind of does like this fresh reboot ish, like a soft reboot, if you will, where you're in first person, which is something they've never done before until now, and it was kind of a new experience. And then they had the Louisiana swamps. They had this redneck-ish family that just lived there, and shit goes south.
Oh yeah, it was very surprising to see that big ass boat though.
Yeah, but the boat, it definitely turns a 180 when you get to the boat scene. But like, after you leave the Baker house, it just kind of changes. And I mean, I love the game for it. I love the game, but like after that, it kind of lost my interest a bit. Where I'm like, oh, this is the same stuff that we've been through a bunch of times in Resident Evil games. So I don't understand what the boat was about still.
So yeah, the problem I had with RE7, even though it was a great game, was, do you know, even when you first start the game and you got to go all down to get Mia at the cell, and you have to do all that little when she's walking you about. So yeah, when you get down the start of the game and you meet Mia in the cell, do you know, like all the bit after that before it leads up to the house?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
that just felt a bit too long.
Oh, I could see that.
Oh, it just felt a nightmare, and you're constantly waiting for stuff to happen. All you want to do is just get involved. Apart from when she comes up the stairs and scares the shit out of you when you're first playing it.
Yeah, I remember that, and I even attempted that in VR, and oh my goodness, it still gives me chills.
It's that little bang on the door, isn't it? You think, I'm not going to lie, when I first played that, I thought someone was knocking at my door, so I paused the game to go and check my front door. And they felt a bit more awkward then when I come back and there's Mia at the door, looking like that.
Yeah, Mia being, I guess, infected would be the best term. Was very scary because the way she acted and stuff was just, oh my goodness. And then obviously the Baker family, Jack Baker, and was it Martha Baker or whatever, the mother?
Margaret.
Margaret, thank you. I know it started with an M. Yeah, just the way they acted, and obviously their boss battles are insane, especially like when you're in the garage, when you're in the garage with Jack in the car and stuff. That's insane. That whole scene is insane. And then like one of the creepiest moments that still gets me is where you go into like the greenhouse and you have to fight Margaret, and she's like a spider creature that's just like walking the ceiling and stuff, and there's a hive on her stomach groin area, and you have to shoot it, and oh my goodness, that's just it just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Do you know, I literally thought leading up to that battle, first time I played it through, I'd got through the Jack battle just about after a lot of stress and a lot of swearing. And I knew when you get to that sort of bit when you got to drop down, when you first go in that sort of back house thing. I thought, well, you're going to have to save a lot of bullets. And then when I seen that happening, and the amount of stress just to deal with her was so annoying.
It was. I have to go back and my own videos that I've done on the channel and just look at my experience with that, because that was a very stressful situation, and I know it probably was for you too, hon, where you were just watching me go through that, you know?
Oh yeah. It's creepy, but it's really fun when you're the viewer and not the one playing it.
Yes, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Have you played that game on Madhouse?
No, Madhouse being the hardest difficulty in that game, and isn't there no saving, right? Or is there like save? There's only like 3 save checkpoints, or no, the saving is like cassette tapes, right?
Yeah, it'd be like the old Resident Evils, like picking up ink ribbons.
Yeah, ink ribbons. I know. Yeah, I remember that. So, no, I never attempted the Madhouse. I've wanted to, but man, that you just need. I know I would need to practice just so I can get the feel for the game again and try it all out. Before, and know where everything is before Madhouse. Doesn't Madhouse change things a bit, like where the guns and the ammo is and stuff, right? That does change.
Madhouse goes nuts. Do you know? Because when you pick up the antique coins, you can pick up a lot of antique coins. Do you know, for that first key that you need? Whereas in the standard one, you can pick it down in the basement at the bottom.
Yeah.
You can save the coins, and you can buy the key first if you want. If not, you have to, do you know, through the side bit, where you can put to turn that little image thing around so you can slide through the panels of the wall to go through.
Yeah.
You can buy the key first if you want, or you can buy someone else. And I think what Resident Evil 7 done is, with the Madhouse difficulty, is probably how fans wanted the actual standard mode of Resident Evil 7 to be.
And they gave it to them in the hardest difficulty possible. My goodness.
But I'll tell you what, if you play it on standard and you play it on Madhouse, it's 2 different games.
Well, that will be...
I mean, when Jack is about, it'll be a bit like Nemesis. He'll follow you around on Madhouse.
Oh, great. That's the last thing I need.
I know. I'll tell you, when it gave me so much stress.
We'll definitely have to try out Madhouse soon. Though I don't know if we'll have time, because we'll obviously have RE8 to take up our time.
That might be something we try afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. So thank you for talking about the Madhouse difficulty. That sounds interesting and also frightening and terrifying, and very, very hard. And you went through the whole thing, right, on Madhouse?
Yeah, I went through it on Madhouse. Literally, if you're going to play Madhouse, you have to put it this way: how much do you want to swear? How much do you want to be stressed? And how many times do you want to reload your game?
Gotcha. So a lot on all 3 of those questions. Got it.
But it's like that game, which I said to you. If you want to do the Platinum Trophy for the PlayStation, do you know, because you can only open the item box 3 times.
Yeah, and they do this on they do this in all the Resident Evil games mostly, where it's like, oh, you never open up the chest, the storage container where you can put all your stuff in and grab them later. I'm just explaining it to you too, honey.
Yeah, no worries, I'm listening.
Yeah, there's trophies or achievements tied to never opening them or opening them up only a few times. So you really have to know what you're holding and whether or not you need it.
Oh.
And so I imagine, don't do it on Madhouse, because it sounds like you need to do it on a standard edition so you know where everything is.
Oh no, Madhouse and standard is the same. Because with RE7 that you go so far into the game and you have to do the happy birthday bit.
I remember that, the happy birthday video, yeah.
Put all your items away, and then afterwards you have to get all your items out.
That counts, right? Like, you have to open it up?
That counts as 2 items, yeah. 2 item boxes.
Stupid. So you can only open it up that one time. Or those 2 times.
You got 1 free.
Wow.
It's so annoying.
I bet. I can't believe you platinumed that game. That is crazy. I gotta give you props. That's you did it, man. I don't know if I could do it.
Oh, trust me, there was a lot of swearing, a lot of nearly broken controllers, and but we got there.
We've all been there. Well, is there anything else we need to recap? I mean, we could talk about the other Baker family member, which was the kid, the son. What was the son's name again?
I didn't think he was a kid.
Oh,
I was going to say, you asked him that. I can't remember his name. All I remember is his arm gets chopped off at the start.
Yeah, I didn't really like that. He was my least favorite person we had to deal with because one, I don't think he was as insane as the other ones were, like Jack and Margaret. I feel like, I mean, yes, he was insane because he's more of a techie and he was trying to get under her skin and basically pull a jigsaw on us from, the Saw franchise on most of those traps and stuff. So it was definitely a different kind of person that you had to deal with, but not my favorite out of the three.
The only one thing I will add to RE7 is, do you know, like, a lot of YouTubers put mods on games and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen people attempt to do, like, the RE2 remake and the RE3 remake in Resident Evil 7.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it didn't look like it works in that third-person sort of format.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it didn't work.
Yeah, the mods are interesting for the community, but yeah, I think first person really works well with RE7 and just the location you're at, and it was a really nice change of pace, and from how the last Resident Evil games are, because they're always over the shoulder third person experiences. So I liked that they went with this first person route. I like it, and I'm glad that they stuck with it in RE8.
Yeah,
to be fair,
really cool.
after RE7, when I seen RE8, I thought, will they go back to the old style or will they stay first person? I was happy to see first person.
Oh yeah,
I'm glad that they kept it because I think it works well. Though a lot of people would disagree because a lot of people don't like Ethan Winters as a character and his because I mean he does have a voice, so it's not like you're a silent protagonist. So I guess that makes sense because I don't think there's ever been a moment where you're a silent protagonist in the Resident Evil franchise. So I guess that makes sense on one end.
Ethan Winters is a bit of a legend, isn't he, with RE7?
Yeah, and that's the one thing that like gets me a little bit with RE8. I'm like, how famous is he? Because a lot of people say his name like it's a legend. Like, does everyone know what he did in Louisiana in RE8? Because this happens in the trailers where everyone knows his name when he's in the castle or in the village. They're like, everyone knows his name, like it's some kind of legend that he went through. So I'm just wondering, like, does anyone I'm just wondering how people know him that well or fondly.
I will say though, if anyone's listening to this, RE7 has to be played before you play RE8.
Well, obviously, this feels like,
I agree.
And this kind of feels, and I guess this is kind of like a transition into RE8. What we expect and our theories on the game. But I feel like there's more to the story because I feel like when they started 7, they obviously have an idea to maybe make this a couple of games, if not a trilogy, maybe. So maybe this is my speculation. I don't know if how they're going to end RE8, but we can get into that obviously, or what we're expecting of RE8. So, you guys want to start talking about RE8 now?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, let's go into RE8. I'm taking a back seat on this one because I want to find out as I go along.
Okay, well, first I want to make a wee bit of a bridge from 7 to 8, and that is with Mia. We go to save her in the first one because at the beginning we find out she's still alive after being missing for 5 years, and then of course she dies a couple times in Resident Evil 7, but in the end we ultimately save her, and in the previews for Resident Evil 8 you see that she gets killed. What are your thoughts on that?
That she gets murdered immediately.
Yeah.
But I do want to take a step back because I forgot there's 2 endings to Resident Evil 7. There's 2 different outcomes that you can do, and only one of them matters.
Backtrack around to my question.
Yeah, and then going back to it, yeah. But yeah, like I guess they're only choosing one canon because at the very end of the game you make a decision to either save Mia or you save Zoe.
Yeah.
And obviously the Mia choice, which is in Resident Evil 7, is the canonical choice. So that's a good question. Why would they... I mean, I guess this sets up the whole story for 8, but they chose that canonical, storyline so they could murder her immediately.
Well, you never know. If you took that storyline where you save Mia, that Mia survives and she's alive and well and all things like that. But maybe if you don't save her and you go for Zoe, that's why when you see in the trailer, spoiler alert for anyone else in it, it looks like Chris Redfield shoots her.
Yes, Chris Redfield does the deed.
I'd like to thank you, Jay, for that, because that does make it easier for me to digest that bit. Because I was so annoyed with them killing Mia after that.
Yeah, and from the storyline, it looks like this is a few years later. Mia and Ethan have settled down. They actually have a child, and her name is Rose. And from what it looks like, and if you're okay with this, and this is in the story trailer, Jay, if you're okay with this, I can keep going. But
oh, I'm good. I'm happy to learn as I go along.
Perfect.
I'm taking a back seat, sitting down with cookies and milk here now, listening.
Yeah, so it looks like Chris, barges into their home, takes their child, and shoots Mia. And leaves Ethan alive. And that's kind of what sets off the rest of the game, where he goes off to the village to go save, because that's where Chris takes his child, Rose, to the village and to this castle with what looks like all these lady vampires and these lichens about. So that's the start of it. It looks like, at least from the trailers that I've gathered, that and then what do you think about them just killing off Mia that quickly?
Well, I was going to say, so we went through all of Resident Evil 7 to save Mia, and then the start of the game, Chris shoots her anyway.
Yeah.
So next time I play Resident Evil 7, I'm going to save Zoe.
Have you done both endings? Have you seen both endings?
I have seen both endings, because I know at the end of RE7, Mia turns.
Yeah, she turns.
But I did wonder if there was an RE8, depending on which ending you got, how they can turn that.
Yeah, and then obviously they chose the canonical choice of you will obviously be saving Mia no matter what. So I'm wondering why they went that route to do 2 endings, yet they course corrected it and just said, hey, this one's actually more important than the other. I just find that weird.
It's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of story in RE8. I think it's going to be more story-based than an action-based. Which you never know. It might lead to an RE9 or conspiracies.
Well, yeah, I think we can get into theories and speculations on what could happen. I have several theories. I don't think Chris is the villain per se. I feel like he was threatened or blackmailed to do this sort of thing by bringing a child over to this area, and whatever that means can mean anything. I have a feeling that this is the middle of a franchise that they're starting, where the 9th game is going to be the culmination of everything that we've been through in 2 games. And my speculation is that Ethan will die in this game. This is just my speculation. This is not true in any way. I could be right. Who knows? Come in a month. But
spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. This is my speculation that I think halfway through the game, Ethan's gonna die, and you play as Chris, and then the rest of the game, and then obviously, RE9 or whatever that will be, sounds like you might be Chris the entire time, or I would dare say maybe even play as Rose.
Oh wow!
So Ethan's offspring later on in the 9th game. I think that would be kind of cool. That's just my speculation, though. What do you guys think?
But if you think about it, Resident Evil 7, I mean, Chris Redfield weren't in the game for ages, and then suddenly he was at the end. if you remember at the end of RE7, he comes in the chopper and he throws the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
So I still think that the developers of the game had Chris in the mind to keep him in.
I believe so, yeah. They obviously have intentions, and I know Witchley isn't very familiar who Chris Redfield is per se, but he's one of the protagonists of basically since Resident Evil 1.
Well, that is one thing I understood.
Yeah. So he's been around since the beginning. So, and yeah, I'm sure they have plans for him because they're obviously they kept him in 7. Obviously they changed his look completely, and then they changed his look completely in 8, where he looks like he's changed quite a bit. Too. At least his model. I don't know why they keep changing his model constantly.
Do you know, I'm just going to throw it out there before we get to more speculation. Because Tyler ain't seen the full Resident Evil concept.
Yes.
Your comments are going to be saying it. I think in the lead up to RE8, you should do like Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, lead up all the way up to the game release, and then do a live stream.
I say I would love to do that. It's just that we're so close to the launch in like 2 weeks. So I don't know if it'd be possible, but who's to say? We'll see what we can do. But at the very least, it was nice at least talking about an RE7, because what's nice about RE7 is that it's sort of a soft reboot, so it was easy for Witchley just to get in and be like, okay, I understand this world a bit. You know?
Yes, that was very true.
And I understand there's a lot more to it, because it doesn't seem as daunting anymore, knowing that there's 6 games behind her, that, and plus more, that are not, that fill in more gaps that she is behind on. So I kind of like that 7 is still like a nice soft reboot, and we can keep going without me having to explain, like, okay, who's Leon, who's Claire, who's Ada Wong, who is Wesker, to you. You get what's going on in the Resident Evil 7 franchise right now, and you're kind of with it, and that's what I think. That's what I love about 7, is that it's kind of nice. This is a nice soft reboot for the whole franchise.
And how many times when you mentioned all them names, did Tyler look at you like, who the fuck are them?
She had her head tilted just a smidge, like, huh?
I wasn't gonna make him second guess himself or anything.
But
Ada Wong is incredible.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Ada Wong is incredible.
She is.
Oh, awesome.
I wish we could talk more about them, but I don't think they're going to be in the next game. But is there anything we can is there any theories that you have, Jay? I know, like you said, you've been avoiding most of the gameplay. You've been avoiding most of the story. I know you just watched one trailer and you were hooked, and you're like, that's all I need to know. Is there anything you can base it off on without me, like, obviously from my speculation, and I want Witchley's speculation next too.
From your speculation and the trailers that I've seen, I still think there's going to be a massive thing, like you said, with Chris Redfield. There's still going to be a massive thing with that. With Ethan, I think there's going to be a massive thing with him. I don't think that Mia, even though you see that she's been shot, I've got a mad fucking thing in my head that it's like a tranquilizer gun. That she's going to be in there somewhere. Like, she's going to be bait for, as you said, because it's their kid.
Okay, that would be interesting if they pulled another twist, with Mia being alive still.
I think there's going to be some madness in there that people are not expecting.
A madhouse, you'd say?
Yeah,
full on madness. Full on madhouse. But don't play it on Madhouse unless you've got a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of swearing to be had.
It wouldn't be a Resident Evil 8 discussion if we do not at least talk about the meme in the room, Lady Dimitrescu, who is the tall vampire lady that everyone wants to be stepped on. Don't understand that still. But she's been taking the storm online ever since the first trailer went live with her in it. And I just want to know your thoughts on Lady Dimitrescu, or I'm probably
Dimitrescu.
I don't know if we're probably pronouncing her name wrong, but she's like the tall vampire lady, and I know you've probably seen enough memes to know what that means and what she looks like and stuff. What do you think about that, Jay?
Well, this is where it gets awkward, because I was relying on you to tell me some information, because I don't really know much about it. All I've seen is the trailer on it.
I thought you would have at least seen the tall vampire lady.
Because everybody seems to be obsessed with her.
Yeah.
Well, you can actually see, when you said earlier in the podcast, I've stayed literally away from this game. I've seen the trailer, I've seen the woman in the white hat, and that's it. Is that who you're on about?
Yeah, that's the tall vampire lady. Her name is Lady Dimitrescu, or Dimitrescu.
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to get destroyed in your comments now for saying the woman in the white hat. I do apologise, people.
Please do not destroy Jay in the comments. We would frown upon that.
Yeah, but she's this very tall vampire lady who looks more like she's one of the antagonists of the game. Yes. And it sounds like she's going to be quite some trouble. And she's a vampire lady, and she has her daughters that are vampire ladies as well, but they're not as tall as her. She's like 9'6". I think I looked
9'6", she's around 290 centimeters.
She is a tall lady.
9'6".
Yeah, 9'6", right?
Yeah.
Or 240 centimeters. That is crazy. 290 centimeters.
Around that height.
Whichever metric you use.
She's been in a way a big censure.
Yeah, there's actually there's gameplay, without spoiling too much, but like it sounds like in the castle she is going to be like the new Mr. X, where she is just chasing you. And she actually has a little bit of trouble trying to get through doors, so whenever you get through a door yourself, she will take a little bit more time to crouch and get through the door. So it looks like she'll be chasing you, or, on the hunt for you while you're in her castle or mansion or whatever. And it's just, I was like, wow, that's terrifying. And I mean, yeah, she is so tall that she has to crouch through doors just to get to you.
Oh, that's going to do me head in, because Mr. X in RE2 Remake, when he's following you around, you're saying, "Oh, will you just sod off for 2 minutes?"
Yeah, he was very relentless.
He made us scream a couple times.
Yeah, I was definitely screaming a bit when I played, because he was just like, you could hear his footsteps, like just don 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 don, and he wouldn't even be in the same room with you, but he is close by, because he is stomping and looking for you, and if you're making any noise whatsoever, he will come to you and find you, and my goodness, it is terrifying.
It's like I looked before when I seen about Mr. X. I thought, because it was doing me head in. I needed on Resident Evil 2 to try and get into this room, this or that. Because do you know that hallway where the Star's office is?
Mm-hmm.
There's a liquor in there, and I thought, well, I need to get in there quick. I was on low health, and I said, if you do this, you do that, you can get in there quick. Yeah, sound. Yeah, that worked out well for me. About 60 times swearing, 60 times fucking reloading. I got there eventually. It done my head in. Him just following you around, doing your heading. It's like, what I loved about them games is, because you've got to do the sort of man management, and you've got to work out your inventory. Yeah. But you can't think when you know he's behind you.
Yeah, you can't. You really just have to. It's just quick thinking. Yeah, he's very, and it sounds like that's what they're doing with Lady Dimitrescu, which I'm still butchering. Yeah, it sounds like they're getting that kind of inspiration from what Mr. X was doing, and obviously, what the Nemesis as well. And it sounds like they're putting some of those ideas into her, at least in the castle area where she's just chasing you, and that's going to be terrifying. And
it does sound like RE7. Do you know, with when you put it on Madhouse with the baker, well, the main man baker,
Jack Baker, yeah.
Jack Baker, that's it. I couldn't remember his name. And I call myself a Resident Evil fan. Sorry, comments. Literally, the right side of the house where you start the game, where you pick up on RE7, Jack will literally follow you all around that side of the house.
Oh,
and it drives you mad.
Yes, yeah, it's very creepy. And then like the way he could also just go through the wall. He just walks through the wall like it's nothing. That's also terrifying. Oh man, it's not a good time. But that whole experience. Do you think that we're gonna have the same kind of feelings like we did with Jack Baker with this tall vampire lady?
Do you know what? I honest to God hope that this game is what it should be, Resident Evil. It should scare the crap out of you.
That's what we're hoping for, definitely.
Wherever you go, you're constantly in fear. Something's going to come out and get you. That's what it should all be about. Right?
It sounds like they're in the right direction with these these lichens now. We have lichens in the game. We have vampires now. It's crazy. I didn't think it would be possible, but it is. So, do you have any thoughts on the tall vampire lady? Do you love her? Do you hate her? Do you want her to step on you? That's a lot of people's expectations. I don't understand that.
Well, to be honest, I don't really want anyone to step on me, even with a game character. But if she's going to follow you around and cause you a bit of a nightmare, then I'm all up for that in the game. I love that sort of thing in a game where you've got that stress where you can't think because you're on your toes playing the game.
Exactly.
That's what games should be.
Yeah.
Put you through the ringer.
Give you an experience.
I'll tell you. As long as you don't jump out and do too many jump scares when you're not expecting them, so you nearly crap yourself. Yeah, we're all good.
Oh, yes.
Well, I'm personally interested to see what she's capable of, and I'm interested to see how she's going to be a part of the story. What about you, Witchley?
I am very excited to see a bold vampire woman in this game for some reason. I absolutely love vampires and werewolves, so this game's going to be right up my alley.
I'll tell you what, this game is going to be the game of the year.
I think it's going to be up there for us. Currently, right now, we ran through It Takes Two, and that's our game of the year because it was such a great experience playing that game co-op together, and the story was amazing. So I would like to see what would dethrone it, and I think this is very close.
This could be a good contender.
Yep.
Do you know the good thing as well is a lot of people who haven't got a PS5 yet, like myself, because I don't justify paying the price for it.
I get that.
It is coming out on PS4. Yeah, the graphics might be slightly down.
Yeah.
But we can still get the same game.
Well, yeah, I really love that they're able to... And originally, they only announced it for next gen, and they changed their mind, and I think that's great. Because, you're right, it is really hard to get the consoles. Believe me, it took me an arm and a leg just to find a PS5. We have one. We have an Xbox Series X.
We were extremely lucky to have them both.
We're very lucky. It is very hard to find them. And yeah, and I'm glad that they're going to be on last gen so you can still enjoy it until they get better at, supplying these new consoles and stuff. But it's going to look amazing still, regardless on whichever platform you're playing it on.
Well, the advice for me is if you've got a PS5, go buy the game.
Yes.
If you've got a PS4, play Resident Evil 7 first, then get RE8.
Yes.
Yes.
Do all that, guys. And I think that's going to wrap up our Resident Evil talk. But before we go, we do have a couple of questions from the from our fans that were given to us on Twitter and email and stuff, which you guys can email us at thegrumblegamers@gmail.com.
We'll put that in the description.
Yes. So first question, and Jay, you're allowed to answer it too, is what game do you go back to from time to time? Whether it's new or old.
Well, I'll need to think about this one, so I'll let you answer first, and I'll come back to you.
How about we?
Yeah. How about I say my game?
Yes. Let's say Witchley first.
Okay. Well, long time running games would be Pac-Man, yes, the regular Pac-Man, and Crash Bandicoot Warped. I think those are fun and have such great replayable value to it. And as for a more recent game, For me, it's Stardew Valley. It's relaxing. I can just have fun playing it and de-stress in that game. So
it's very a de-stress game. So doesn't give you any stress like Resident Evil does. Mine would probably be, and this is and I play this almost annually at this point. And it's my favorite game of all time. It's Shadow of the Colossus, and that game's been out since 2005. But, with the remake that they just made in 2018 or something, it's been really fun just playing that, because it's a game I have adored since 2005. I even have a tattoo on my arm of Shadow of the Colossus. I keep saying that. It's one of my favorite games. It's a masterpiece to me. Yeah, I always go back to it just to experience that game over and over, even though I've played it millions and millions of times. I think it's such a great game, and it's such an experience. And I played it twice on our channel, which is, I usually don't ever play a game twice on a channel, and I always just keep going back to the game. It's something that I love and adore. It's because I grew up with it, and the remaster or remake, sorry, is amazing. It's just jaw dropping, and I love the spectacle, the photo mode that you can do in there, and just the Colossus battles are one of my favorite gaming memories and gaming moments as being a gamer. So, but Jay, what do you think? Or what is your game that you go back to from time to time?
Do you know, it's one of them. There's not too many games that I go back to. I mean, I spoke to you about it off this podcast. The Last of Us. I keep going back to that first one, even though I know the story at the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I keep going back to that game. What else do I keep playing? Trying to think. I keep going back to Grand Theft Auto. Well, GTA 5.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, I've gone back to BioShock.
Well, BioShock's a good series, and you did tell me off air that you finished all three, and they are such an experience and great storytelling. And you're right, Last of Us is such a good going back to. The story's amazing. It's still emotional. I still tear up by the first 10 minutes of that game, because I'm not going to spoil it, but it's very emotional, and there's a loss, and it's a very emotional game, and by the end of it, it's even more emotional. And yeah, I've played that game multiple times. I've showed it to Taylor. We've played the second game together on the channel. That was an experience, because we both went in blind, sort of. I was spoiled of the huge twist, which sucked. I hated that, but what can you do? People suck on the internet. But yeah, those are really great games. GTA is a good one, because a lot of people just play that online so many times, and there's so many things to do with the heists and the story, and just getting awesome cars, driving, flying, doing whatever you want. I think those are some great picks, Jay.
But I've got to ask, Tyler.
Yes.
When he was playing The Last of Us 2, when that certain scene come up, I don't want to say it in case people are listening and they ain't played the game.
Fair enough, yes.
When that certain scene came up, did he have a tear in his eye?
We both cried.
Well, I'm going to say we both cried a lot.
Even though I knew the twist, I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know. All I knew was so-and-so something, and so I was expecting it. I didn't know when. I didn't know how. I didn't know how the story was going to evolve around it. And it was still emotional, because one, I grew up, I wouldn't say grew up, but like I've experienced the first game so many times, and just the acting's amazing. The characters in there you love them by the end, even though they've made very, very bad decisions. But you still love them because they did what they had to do to survive. And knowing that some of those decisions that made in the first game, without going into too many spoilers, comes back to haunt those people in the second one, it's still emotional, because you grew up with you experience these people's lives of them surviving, and the way they survive, and what they love, and what they learn, and being together and being family, even if that means they're not by blood. It's very emotional. But I still cried.
He looked like he was tearing up right now just talking about the game.
I'll tell you what, there's two things that The Last of Us done to us. Is that scene when that happens. I don't want to say it in case people are listening and they haven't played it. And then the first one, when, before you really start the game, when he's carrying so-and-so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know the scene I'm on about?
Yes.
Indeed.
That got me, that did. I had to pause the game, like, oh, I can't play the game.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people had to stop after that, because I know a lot of people are fathers, or they have children, and it sucks, just having that kind of emotional scene. And just I would, if I was a father, I would probably put the game down, being like, I can't go through this. I can't.
But isn't this good with like video games, that you can get that hooked into a game and that zoned in, that the money you've paid for that game, you're in there, if that makes sense.
Yes.
We're definitely in there, yeah. I mean, even within 10 minutes, I'm in. And that's why I got to give Naughty Dog credit for that, just being like, they pulled something amazing that they made, where it's very emotional, and it really stacks up. This is what I love about games is becoming more of an experience of it's rivaling movies that movies can't even top now, or it's matching movies that are great. It's crazy. And I mean, how now we have a Last of Us series coming in as a TV show next, and I'm interested to see what they're going to change, what they're going to do. I don't think we necessarily need one, but
TV series?
Yeah, they're working on a TV series for The Last of Us on HBO, and they're working on it and they already casted Joel, and they already casted Ellie, and they're going to be doing they said they're going to be faithful to the first game, but they are going to make some differences, they said. Do you know who they casted as Joel and Ellie?
These are going to be two people that I've never heard of, because I'm British.
First one is for Joel, they casted Pedro Pascal, and if you don't know who Pedro Pascal is, he played the Mandalorian in Star Wars, and he was also in
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. He plays Oberyn Tyrell. If you don't know any of those, those are the only two I can think of on the top of my head that are pretty more recent.
We can extend the conversation into that. And I'm talking about Game of Thrones. I don't know about it, because I've never watched Game of Thrones.
Well, it's a stressful show. So.
It is very stressful, but I guess I don't know if the Mandalorian helps. Then he plays the Mandalorian.
Well, all I'm going to say is, when you mentioned Game of Thrones, and I've just said that I don't watch it, I'm going to trigger your comment section now. I can express it now. There's someone going to be saying, "Who's this geezer that you've got on? He don't know nothing." All right, fair enough.
Well, not everyone watches everything that is more mainstream nowadays. It's okay. And then they casted Ellie, and it's played by an actress named Bella Ramsey. Also, if you don't know her, the only thing I know her from is also Game of Thrones. So they have both been in Game of Thrones, so I guess that doesn't really help your case.
One thing I will say to you that I had seen is from The Last of Us 2, I think it was, with Ellie and Joel. Mm-hmm. Do you know the people who were the voice actors?
Yeah, it's Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson.
Have you seen that video where they're on stage and they was actually singing together?
Yes, I've seen the concert, yes. I think it's great.
Oh, it's one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
It is, and I'm glad that they brought more of the guitar stuff in the second one, and yeah, it's the series is so great. I'm sorry, we got off topic. Obviously, we could probably be doing, this is more of a Last of Us spoiler cast now than a Resident Evil.
We'll have to invite you back for the Last of Us talk.
We do plan on doing a spoiler cast, which we've been wanting to do for some time, so we're going to have to probably get you on, Jay, for a spoiler cast at some point, if you're up for it.
Well, let's see how I'll get destroyed in the comments first for this first podcast. I'll come on as a first guest, and I'm probably going to get destroyed. So
I'm sure they'll be generous. But we have one more question that we got. Did you want to answer it?
I can answer the question if you got one.
Oh, sorry, Witchley. Do you want to answer the question, Witchley?
I don't have an answer for this question, but I'll ask it for you guys.
Okay, how about you ask it?
What book / book series would you like to see adapted for games?
Like video games, yeah. So like what that hasn't been already adapted, obviously. Like,
book series.
Yeah, like a book series that's like, really popular, or popular to you in some way. And what would you?
This is when it gets really awkward because I don't really read books.
Well, then don't worry about it.
I guess I'm the only one that can answer this then, huh?
Well, because I love the Lord of the Rings, and there's many Lord of the Rings games.
Oh, so, yeah. Actually, no. Tyler just said Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen the films, so yeah, I'll go with that.
Well, they've already made video games on the games in books, so I don't know.
They need to make them.
These early releases.
I do feel like they need to make them for these new consoles.
Remaster them?
Yeah, remaster them.
Okay. I'd be okay with that.
I agree with that statement.
For a book for me, and this is just me growing up, I love this book. It's called The Marbury Lens. The author, if you guys don't know who the author is, his name is Andrew Smith, I think. And the premise is really interesting. It's about this kid who gets abducted by a doctor, and he gets molested by the doctor. It's a very dark book, but I'm telling you, it's going somewhere interesting, at least for me. He escapes and flees to London, and he meets this boy named Connor, which is my name, funny enough. And he actually gets these glasses from his friend, and it's called when he puts the glasses on, it travels him to a different alternate universe, or it travels him to a different world, and it's called Marbury, and that's why they call it the Marbury Lens. He can put the glasses on and it travels to there, and then he can take them off, and he's obviously back in London. I find that really interesting as maybe a gameplay mechanic, where you can have these two vast open worlds or small areas and to explore in, and go to London and hang out in there, like your hub world maybe, and then like maybe Marbury is this open world area that you can go to and explore and stuff. It's really interesting. I love the book. It has very dark tones, but I think anyone that is interested should read it. And I think they've made sequels that continue the series, but I think something like to that concept was, being able to travel to a different world is kind of cool. I like that. I always find that interesting.
Do you know you're saying that when you put glasses on, you can go to a different world?
Mm-hmm.
We had a TV show here in the UK, one that I was growing up called Bernard's Watch.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a kid who had a pocket watch, and he could click the top of it, and it would stop time, and he could do whatever the hell he wants. He never done anything good with it, though.
That's too much power, though.
Anything good with it. Well, he just stopped time. Everyone just freeze.
Huh. I don't know how that's
like something out of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I don't know how that's a concept for an entire TV series.
I think that sounds really cool.
It does sound interesting.
It would be great for a TV series.
Oh, it was a movie?
No, it's a kids' TV show. Yeah, I'm just showing me age now.
Oh, it's a TV show. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that would be kind of interesting, even as a video game premise. If there's
just for the fact that was years and years ago. I mean, I'm 31 now.
Well, we're coming up on 30. We're 26, so
I'm turning 27 next week. So
yeah, she's actually about to be turning 27. Her birthday's next week.
I don't know. I come on these podcasts with these people, and they're bloody youth compared to me.
You're not that old. You're a couple of years older, but you're not that old. But I think that's gonna have to do it for our episode.
Wait, I have one more question for you, Crazed.
Yes.
Who asked these questions? We didn't give them credit.
You know what? I forgot to give those.
Is it viewers' questions?
Yeah, those were viewer questions. Yes, and I did not do my due diligence and get the names. I apologize, but I promise in the future that I will do that on future questions. And
if that was your question that was asked out, then put your name in the comments, and we'll both respond to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Who whoever you are that answers those questions. Do you have any questions for us? Who asked those questions? Who, Jay, do you have anything else you want to talk about? Do you have any questions for us? It was really nice having you on today on the podcast.
Well, I'll just say thanks for having me. It's actually quite an honour with you passing 200 subscribers and taking me as the first guest on your podcast.
Yeah, it's been really nice to just hit that 200 mark now, and it feels really weird halfway because I don't expect to have this many people just follow us, and then able to do this and be able to communicate with all of you guys that watch us, including you, Jay, and just
well, I'm going to say is if this edits out well for you, that the stuff you can actually use for a podcast, then I would like to come back again if that's possible.
Yes, definitely.
We definitely wouldn't mind having you for spoiler talks or anything else in the future. I appreciate you coming by today and just giving us a talk. I know it's a 7-hour difference, so it's probably almost not nighttime for you, but I appreciate it.
It's not time for keep yet. It's coming on 9:30 in the evening, but we're all good.
Well, it was nice to have you on. I cannot wait to see you in future ones. We will have to get you on. So
yes,
that'll have to about do it for this episode of the Grumble Gamers Podcast. Thank you guys for watching. This has been episode 2 of the podcast. If you guys enjoyed the episode, please like and subscribe, as it does help us out on the channel. Until then, I'm Crazed.
And I'm Witchley.
And our special guest, Jay.
Like and subscribe.
And as always, grumble on.
Grumble on.
Grumble on.